I love these kind of shoots. I can't wait to share this with you. So I'm just taking the camera and the lens, no lights outside, no flashes, no anyway. But we're gonna do some LEDs in the studio, just really quick. We did one outfit in the studio, and then we did the rest outside, just with the lens, the camera, the camera on my chest, nothing else, just to have fun and enjoy. And I really wanted to play with this lens some more. I want some bright sunlight and some hard shadows, and there's some overcast areas too. It's like, it's gonna be fun. Let's see how we do. Thanks for watching as always. Let's get to the shoot. My goal with each one of these videos is to teach something that somebody could use. And this video is going to be no different, I hope. But later on, I'm going to tell you what was the number one thing that wrecks most of my students' images. 80% of their images become better after doing this. That's important, and I really want to share that with you. But first off, we were supposed to shoot outside and throughout the building, but this outfit was too revealing. She just moved, and there was, a nip slip every single time. So she forgot her pasties. I have them in studio on hand at all times. Trust me, have them in your studio and offer them. It's a simple, hey, I have these if you want to use them, just in case you're worried about slippage. A lot of times they're going to take them. Other times they don't care. And if they don't care, I don't care. But it makes life a lot more comfortable for both you and them if you do have them on hand and offer them if they want to use them. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, once she has these on, is a lot more comfortable for me, I promise you. And I'm using the Godox RS60 bicolor. Again, this isn't about the light. This is more about the lens, because I wanted to shoot this lens a little bit more. And that's the reason for this shoot. This is not a paid shoot. I asked these two girls to come in with me to shoot so I can play with this lens a little bit more before I take it out on a professional shoot. That's really important to me, to use a lens like, no matter what lens it is, no matter what the class is in the series. Like, yes, this is one of Nikon's best Z lenses. It's a 51.2 S lens. It's fantastic, but I still don't know the characteristics of it. So I wanted to play with it a little bit more in natural light, or in LED light in this case, because we had to shoot in the studio, wide open, stop down a little bit. I wanted to shoot in extremely low light to see how the high ISO reacted with this lens, and also the colors on how the colors held up in lower light. This stuff is important to me. And if I don't use a lens enough before I take it out in a professional shoot, I'm uncomfortable even starting with it. So that's why I'm doing this shoot. Now, again, most of the shoot I did wide open, but I did stop it down a few times. I think the lens is fantastic. My biggest concern with the lens is it going to look too digital, because it is supposed to be so sharp. And wide open at 1.2, it is a sharp lens, but it has a beautiful rendering. It's not overly digital. It's just right for me. So that made me happy. Now, I'm going to get right into the one thing that students have a problem with, and that is framing of their images. Now, I know we all try to do it while we're shooting. We're trying to get the correct framing, and that's the right way to do it. But every single time I pull them up and post, I'm going to make some kind of crop to it or do some fine adjusting to it, because my thing is the perfect crop. I want that perfect alignment in the finished image, and I do that even before culling the images. And I want to give you a really good example of this in one of these images here, and it's just an uneasy feeling you get when you see the image, and there's a reason why. So she's looking off to the right now. She has plenty of room to look off to the right. It's a comfortable image. I like the crop on it. Now, if she was looking to the left and there was no room on the left for her to look, in other words, no space to her left, it's an uncomfortable image because she's looking off that direction. I should have had more open space on that left side. Same thing with people running. If they're running to the right of your image and your dead space is to the left behind them, it's an uncomfortable crop because there's nowhere for them to run. I know it seems kind of silly, but it's really important to make sure you frame your images correctly and crop them for the perfect framing. I spend more time cropping images than I do any other procedure in post-processing. And the first thing I do to every single image before I make my yes or no, my 5-star or the ones I'm going to keep and the ones I'm going to get rid of, the first thing I do is crop. I get the perfect crop. I take my time with it. I adjust every single one to it's perfect to me. And believe me, you would be shocked on how long it takes me to do each one, but it's important to me. Then I go through and cull them to say, this is a keeper, this is not, because then I'm looking at the image the way it's supposed to be presented or the way it's supposed to be framed. So give that a try. Trust me, it makes a huge, huge difference. And I can't tell you how many images that the students that I have were unhappy with. And then we just took our time to make the correct crop on the image. And all of a sudden, oh my God, yeah, I do love that because they didn't take the time to do the crop on the image. Again, I know we want to get it right out of camera, but it just doesn't happen that way. And I would be a liar. Like I'm telling you, I try my best, my very best to get every image perfect in camera. Like this one, she's dead center. She's looking off to that left. I should have just a touch more room to that left. It's something that simple. Like this one here, I'm going to center her in the middle of the image, and it's going to bother you just because that little bit of a head turn. That little bit of head turn, I need more room on that side. Even if she was looking at me direct, her body language is pointing to the left. So I need just a little bit more room on that left. It's a night and day difference when you make these crops and these little tweaks. And it could be a quarter of an inch, it could be a whole inch, it could be a centimeter. It doesn't matter. It really does that make that much of a difference. Now, we have this outfit and one more outfits to do, but the last outfit, one of the girls asked me to do something special, which I had no problem doing, and I think it'd be a cool image. But so she's getting ready. We're just shooting a couple more in studio, more or less to cool down because we have air conditioner in here. And we were outside for quite a while. So I figured, hey, with these outfits, they're a little bit warmer outfits on her. I figured let's just shoot inside. I'll play a little bit more with this lens and the LEDs. And now I just threw whatever LEDs I had in the studio on. I'm not worried about the perfect settings for them. I just moved them in a little closer to make them a little bit brighter, and I added a reflector below her. Again, just to play and have fun and see how this lens does. The lens is. I gotta say this: if you have the 51.8S and aren't worried about really deep, blurry backgrounds, you have no problem with that 51.8. And I'll still use as a matter of fact, I mean, the last professional job I had, I used the 51.8. I didn't use the 51.2. So, that should tell you something. That lens is really that good. But I do notice that the 51.2 does render the 45 megapixels a little bit better than the 51.8. And the only way you can really see this is having that, like a full length shot and zooming in quite a bit to take a look at the images. And then you can see it coming apart a little bit because you're zoomed in so much. With a solid lens that can handle that kind of megapixels, you don't have to worry about it. It renders the megapixels just a little bit better. So, that getting that out of the way, the 51.8 is a perfectly fine lens. And again, I use it professionally for my professional jobs all the time without issue. So anyway, this is our last couple shots here in the studio, and then we're going to go back outside for the final little plot of our shoot here. And I'm telling you, I have a blast doing this. I love walking around like this, shooting like this. I just think everybody needs this once in a while. It's like my fishing trip, just going out, not have to worry about anything. Even something as simple as carrying the camera around for the YouTube video, it's a pain for me. It's like it distracts from what I'm doing. If I just throw out my chest, I know they're not the perfect videos, and it's not the perfect angle for you all the time, but I figured I wasn't using lights anyway, so you really don't need to see the overall. This makes it a lot easier and more comfortable for me for this type of shoot, for more of a fun shoot and concentrating on what I wanted to concentrate on. So the takeaway from this, for you is work on your crops, work on your framing, and don't scrimp on that time it takes to make those framing choices in post production. Definitely take your time and step back. Stop zooming in, just leave that image full frame on your screen, whether you're using an iPad or a computer screen. Step back and take a look at it and see what bothers you about it. And then make your adjustments. Because I guarantee you some of the images, a lot of the images that you just weren't cool with, you're going to be happy with. And again, start your image culling after you make these adjustments, because it's going to make a huge difference on which ones you think are keepers and which ones you think you want to get rid of. It really is that important. So, give it a try with your next shoot. Do your shoot, bring them into Lightroom or Capture One or whatever you use, and do your crops first. Go through every single image, take your time and do the crops. After that, then go through and decide which ones you want to keep. I promise you, you're going to have a different look at them, and you're going to want to keep a lot of different images that you didn't think you'd want to, if that makes sense. So our final image of the day was her having water poured over her head. Obviously, we made this the last image because she's going to be soaked after this. But it was a fun idea, and it did turn out pretty good. Obviously, with flash and backflash, this would be a lot cooler, and you would get a lot more splash. But it still came out the way we wanted it to, and we're both happy with it. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them below.